This video has been a long time coming, eh? Hello everyone, my name is Rune, and today we're going to be talking about one of Zenless's most overlooked features. Bangboos, these little gooners that accompany us on our many adventures within the Hollows. These little guys are not only so adorable, but also play an important part in killing whatever you're up against. It may not seem like it, but the type of Bangboo you have on your team matters a lot, especially in recent patches considering that the ZCC devs are designing these guys with actual effects in mind. However, there's one big problem with Bangboos, and that's the fact that a lot of them suck. Whether it's just simply being outclassed by higher rarity options, to providing effects for system mechanics that the game does not care about anymore. The biggest power creep that Zenless suffers from is how horrible most of the Bangboo are in this game. Well then Rune, what should I do with all these boopons that I have saved up? Do I just not get any of these Bangboo at all? Well, no, don't do that. There's still a few good picks to choose from. It's just a matter of looking at what your account needs and determining what Bangboo would help the most with it. And I figured that with 3.0's release on the horizon, I'd take the time to finally release my Bangboo guide for those of you that may be confused as to who to pull for. Before we get started, shout out to the channel members as always, leave a like and consider subscribing afterwards, and without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, rapid fire round. These are all of the worst Bangboos to invest into in the game, and you should absolutely not give these guys any second thought whatsoever. Bullseye, Bagboo, Avocaboo, Exploreboo, Paperboo, Brawlerboo, Magnetiboo, Excaliboo, Sumoboo, Safety, Overtime Boo, Biled and Boolock, Mercury, Officer Kui, Battyboo, Red Mockus, and Booltergeist are all Bangboo that are not worth investing into. These guys are horrible at their jobs and suffer from either having 2 faction member requirements or just having meaningless effects that don't benefit the player at all. And before you guys get all hissy in the comments, yes, you can still clear content with any of these guys. It's just that there are so many better options than the ones that I stated here. You're more than welcome to use whatever Bangboo on whatever team comp you want. But there is a definitive hierarchy between these goons, and some of their conditionals to get online are not worth it for the B skill effects that they provide. Take Mercury for example. His B skill requires 2 Obo Squad members to get online, and that isn't hard within itself. It's the fact that the effect is pretty bad. Sanby and C don't want any fire buildup at all, and if you're using Soldier 11, then Rocket Boo is just the better option by a mile. Mercury requires a duo of Sanby, Trigger, or Orphe to be on the team, and Orphe is basically the mandatory character this Bangboo was made for. However, the entirety of Obo Squad would be better off with either Plug Boo or Snap if you truly care about squeezing out as many points as possible from these teams. And that's just a big problem that a lot of the Bangboo have within this tier. The game is at the point where Bangboo chain attack damage is so irrelevant, and the only reason you'd ever CA with them is to close out on anomaly procs. But yet again, the issue with these guys here is that they're not only outclassed by many other options, but their effects are just so abysmal to the point where not running a Bangboo at all would be better than running any of these guys. These Bangboo are still not the best ones to use, but fulfill certain niches that make them see more usage than the previous ones I mentioned. Lucky Boo, Boo Resher, Night Boo, Razana Boo, Cry Boo, and Electro Boo are all Bangboo with very niche use scenarios, often being the fact that these are Bangboo that are only used solely for their anomaly buildup. And I know what you're thinking. Rune, Devil Boo is better than Razana Boo? Isn't Razana Boo the S-rank variant? And you'd be right, my dear viewer, but the problem with Razana Boo is that its A skill's uptime is significantly slower than Devil Boo's, and if you're in need of Ether Anomaly buildup and aren't using Vivian, then Devil Boo is just better at the job than Razana. Once again, these Bangboo are not as horrible as the previous ones. They serve to be cheaper options for element-specific anomaly buildups, and are just outclassed by better options. You would typically have these Bangboos on your account leveled up in the earlier days of your account, but by this point, you've already had access to heavier hitters. They may be able to see some usage and threshold, but until then, usually these guys are going to be bench warmers on your account once you start getting more and more Bangboos. Here we have some real winners, but sadly their usage is tied to them being best in slot for a specific character. Sprout, Bellion, Agent Gulliver, and Butler Boo are all pretty solid options. However, they only see real usage with a specific character in mind. For example, Agent Gulliver only really exists to serve Miyabi and Yanagi. Butler Boo is only really considered for maid teams, Sprout is the only Bangboo that actually requires one character to get online, and Bellion can exist as a substitute for Burblik on Yixuan teams at C3. Also, another thing to note here is that starting in 2.0, Bangboos got an additional effect tied to their copies. Every faction Bangboo from 2.0 onwards got the added effect of only requiring one character from a specific faction as opposed to two. Taking Bellion for example here again, before C3, Bellion would only be locked to double Yonkwai teams with Yixuan, Pan, or Fufu. But once you get 2 more copies of him, he could now be used on teams that just have Yixuan. This is great if another Bangboo that you want on the same team is being used up elsewhere. Every Bangboo in this tier are considered winners, but the only issue is that they are tied to having specific characters in order for them to see usage, and getting the set amount of copies to get their B skills online easier. This isn't the worst thing about them, but it is something to keep in mind when pulling for them. This tier consists of special exceptions to the character-specific rule. Bangboo that have great functionality, but also have the added benefit of being extremely versatile on multiple teams, despite having a faction requirement. And here, we have Robin and Biggest Fan. The best thing about both of these little guys is the fact that they can slot in just about anywhere so long as they remain within their respective faction. With Robin already only requiring one Mockingbird character by default, and BF having the 2.0 C3 requirement to only need one Angel. Robin is exceptionally good at what he does for both Hugo and Vivian, since he provides the respective buff that each character wants. And BF excels at filling a slot for when other Bangboos are occupied on Angel teams. You primarily want to use C3 BF on Arya teams, but you can also slot him into solo Sana or solo Yu comps as well for his flat attack buff. I enjoy the fact that they designed Robin with both Mockingbird characters in mind, because you would never realistically put both of them on the same team together. So it's nice to know that they accounted for that when making him. And while I can't say much about Biggest Fan due to me not having him or the characters that need him, it's nice to see another filler Bangboo that's actually usable that can be used for threshold clears. These are your go-to Bangboo for that yummy anomaly buildup. These Bangboo include Rocket Boo, Plug Boo, Shark Boo, Bangvolver, Penguin Boo, and Devil Boo. Nothing really noteworthy to say here about these guys other than the fact that they're amazing at building up their respective element anomaly. Not to mention that their B skills are irrelevant considering that you almost are never doing Bangboo chain attacks in actual rotations. So it's nice to have these guys on the team without worrying about their B skill conditionals. These guys are also useful to run on crit DPS teams due to triggering anomalies giving more decibels to the agent when they happen. One thing to note between Shark Boo and Penguin Boo though. While Shark Boo is better at building anomalies than Penguin Boo, Shark Boo has the ability to trigger Shatter on frozen enemies whereas Penguin Boo cannot. This means that Penguin Boo is better for bosses that can be frozen due to the fact that he won't shatter the enemies randomly. By that nature, Shark Boo is better for ice weak bosses that can't be frozen since shattering them will already have no effect anyway. It is important to note that freezing enemies during the stun phase will also freeze their stun gauge, giving you more time to build up anomalies or dish out damage. Since Shark Boo can shatter enemies on his own with his own traps, you wouldn't want him to do that while the enemy is frozen during the stun phase due to the fact that you could be missing out on potential DPS that could help you clear. Other than that, the rest of these guys are all general use winners, and they're definitely worth your boopons in my book. Burblik and Snap. You guys already know why these two are here. These two are the best Bangboo in the game right now. They both provide very incredible buffs for your team and are extremely flexible in where they can slot into. Snap doesn't care about getting his B skill activated, and Dial-In is one of the best stunners in the game that is a Krampus unit. So every Rupture agent and most attack agents want Burblik on their team for the Daze buildup, considering Dial-In would be the best in slot stunner for most of these agents. Oh, and I guess Zhao too if you're freaky like that, but who cares? Burblik does require C3 to become as versatile as he is, but once he has that, you almost never need to worry about choosing any other Bangboo for your teams once you have him. So in my opinion, he should be the first Bangboo you should prioritize getting 3 copies of. As for Snap, his damage increase buff scales with the amount of copies you get, so he should definitely be a target for your next C5 Bangboo. All in all, it doesn't matter which one you get max copies for first, just understand that picking them up is the most important thing when it comes to these guys if you care about maximizing the most out of your team's damage output. And that's all the Bangboo up to the current patch. What's that? You said I missed one? The Spook Shack Bangboo? What are you talking about? There is no Spook Shack Bangboo. I'm going to try and summarize why you shouldn't even acknowledge that this Bangboo exists in less than 30 seconds. You have to manually walk around to pick up her buffs. Ignoring the other elephant being that sometimes she won't even drop the buff you want, you have to manually pick up her buffs in order to make use of them. A manual buff that has RNG tied to whether or not it drops, that has a 30-second cooldown on it. Every single Bangboo in the rapid fire tier is instantly more useful than Miss Sesame. You are better off using your polychromes on the standard banner to build up W engine chips and get Jane's W engine, rather than pulling for Miss Sesame. And with that out of the way, now we've actually covered all the Bangboo up to the current patch. I probably won't be updating this video until we get at least 10 more Bangboo in the future, so don't look forward to any small updates here and there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments though. Do you agree with my placements? Do you disagree? And let me know who your favorite Bangboo is. If you're curious as to who mine are, it's Rocket Boo and Safety. Anywho, thank you all for watching to the end, and as always, I've got to get started on the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.